lesson 18. Vishuddhi Chakra. In Vishuddhi Chakra, the word Vishuddhi, there is the word stem Shodhana, which means purification. The first pranayama that you learn is called Nadi Shodhana, which means purifying of the nadis, or purifying of the energy channels. Shodhana means purification. This chakra is the only chakra that is inherently sattvic. Symbolically, that is expressed by the petals that you see surrounding the circle. If you have paid attention, then you see that with each chakra going higher, there are more petals. The petals in Vishuddhi Chakra contain only vowels, which technically vowels are vibrations that are pure, sattvic. All the chakras below have consonants in each of the petals, which, according to this theory, are inherently disharmonious. So this is a technical story I don't like so much, because it doesn't really ring a bell, kind of, in a practical sense. But what is important here is that the major function of this chakra is expression. And that is not only verbal expression, which of course is a big part of expression, but it's all forms of expression. When you're an artist, you express yourself through music or creation of artwork, but also non-verbal communication, like body language, and any form of expression is based on this chakra. The color of this chakra is blue, and it's a color that almost everybody likes. The reason why is because communication, expression is never perfect, no matter how eloquent you are, and thus we always have a need of a harmonizing element for the throat chakra. And that harmonizing element is blue. This color blue, or Artina's bottle, no surprise, the color blue you find in almost every financial corporation's marketing or imagery. Banks, insurance companies, stockbrokers, very often in their logos and also in the interior, when you visit their offices, you often find the color blue there. The simple reason is that it's like with the heart chakra, green, it's appealing to a sense of stability in this case. Color green is appealing to a sense, or awakening a sense of loyalty, trust. With the throat chakra, it gives a sense of harmony. Gives it's a company with which you want to do business. This also means, you notice that I sometimes struggle to find the right words. I have a very complicated task because I'm Dutch. But I'm teaching in English. It's not my native language. Even simple words sometimes I cannot find. And you see me, then if you pay attention, if you recognize what I'm doing, I'm trying to find an alternative word that I can come up with. So this causes disruption in the throat chakra. Now, even if you are a native speaker and communicating in your native language, no matter how eloquent you are, it's never going to be perfect, simply because everything that you feel, everything that you perceive, everything that you intuit is so refined and so often complex that it is impossible to translate that into words. All you can do is the best effort to try to cover in words what you think, what you feel, what you intuit. And that's all that you can do. So if you are functioning in different languages, that becomes even more complicated. I find myself dreaming in Korean even, because I've been here for 23 years and I often communicate in Korean. Now, I'll never be fluent in that language because it's very complex language, complicated language, difficult language. And you have to learn that when you are young. And I started seriously studying Korean when I was in my late 30s and continuing into my 40s. So I can get by pretty well, but I will never be fluent in that language. And English, I grew up with English in the Netherlands. We didn't have a very sophisticated broadcasting system when I was a child. So our broadcasting companies bought a lot of programs from England for a large part, and also from the States, United States. Then we always use subtitle. So before you can even speak or walk, you're already exposed to the English language by TV. Even cartoons are often in the original language with subtitle. So before I learned English in school, I was already capable of, at least in a very simple form, communicating with English-speaking people. If you go to Amsterdam and you go to the markets there are many markets. Usually, people who run a market stall, they don't have very sophisticated education, and if you are a native speaker, you probably enjoy trying to communicate with them in English because they can speak English. But it's very funny because they never learned, they never studied English, but everything they know, they picked up from music, from TV, and so very unsophisticated, but very funny, very cute in a way. I once heard a tram driver say to tourists, they asked for 2 tickets. So he said, 2 people just? It's very typical Amsterdam way of, he just mixed Dutch and English together. It's really funny. You'll find that a lot, especially in the markets. So anyway, color. Pay attention to what color you feel attracted to, because the color that you feel attracted to gives an indication where your disharmony is, and that color can stimulate harmony on that level. Because of that, I have for years had a blue coat. I now have several coats, but before this year, I've always had one coat since I was a child. And the coat that I've been wearing the past 7 years was blue. And I tell you how I found it. Because I'm very picky, if I don't find what I want, I walk away. I don't just buy a coat because I need one. I went to Yongsan, huge department store there, iPark, and I went to all these stalls, all these shops, and I was about to leave. I stood at the top of the escalator that was going to bring me down, and from the corner of my eye, in the far corner of the floor, my eye caught a blue color. It's more like this color. And I had to go there. I don't hate shopping. I like shopping, like for example in a supermarket, looking for foods and things. But if I'm shopping for something particular and I can't find it, can't find something that appeals to me, it becomes very exhausting. So I was really happy to go home without anything. And I saw this blue color there, and I thought, okay, only that one I have to check out, and then I will leave. And I bought the coat. It was perfect. Not just the color, but just the whole thing. It's a bit expensive, but you know, if you buy one coat every 9-10 years, it doesn't matter. It better be good. It's a little bit my mom's style. So, but what I'm trying to say is, pay attention to color if you feel attracted to a certain color, because it enhances your harmony. It enhances your condition on a subtle level. And it does affect you, truly affect you. This chakra is best served in a harmonious environment. That is the reason why people intuitively enjoy or really like going out into nature, especially city people. Surrounded by concrete and asphalt, whenever you have a chance, you go away. And just going to a forest, to a mountain, to the seaside, the beach, just being there in itself feels healing, feels good. The reason for that is a natural environment is inherently sattvic, and it has a direct effect, especially on Vishuddhi Chakra. Have you noticed, by the way, if you live in Seoul day by day, and you step in a car or you jump in a train, the moment that you leave the city boundaries, to me it feels like going into another country. Crossing a border and into another country. You don't feel that? It's a totally different country when you're outside the city. Anyway. Natural environment as much as possible. We talked about the influence of wood before, so there you have it, very harmonizing. The subtle element is ether. Do you understand ether? Ether is thinner than air. For Dutch people, the concept of ether is very easy to understand, because when you listen to the radio, it's being mentioned time and time again. The DJ will say, we are stationed this and this and that, coming to you through the ether. Being normal for me, I was surprised later on to notice that many people are not familiar with this word or concept. Ether is what carries the sound waves. There is a broadcasting company that sends out a signal. Music, the voice of the disc jockey. On your building, well, these days everything changed, of course, because of glass fiber and internet and what have you. But on your building you have an antenna that picks up that vibration from there is a receiver, the antenna, and the what do you call it?
And the antenna and the wave?
Yeah, the broadcaster. There's another word for that, anyway. The broadcasting company, whether it's 10 kilometers away or 500 kilometers away, that vibration comes through, not through the air. In English you say airwaves. We come into your living room through the airwaves, the disc jockey would say, probably in English. Ether is thinner than air and carries the sound waves. That is why in Dutch we use the word ether regularly. And it is the subtle energy of this chakra. Remember the previous chakra, the subtle energy was air. So it becomes thinner and thinner, more and more rarefied, the higher you go with the chakras. Which is, of course, in line with this concept of the condensation taking place towards the bottom. This is also the last chakra that is associating with a subtle element. Ajna chakra and the crown chakra are not related to an element. The subtle vehicle of action, the karmandriya, is speech. The subtle organ of perception is hearing. The subtle energy is called Vyana prana, color blue, and the mantra is Ham. Vyana prana is the energy that we know as ghost. You know, horror stories or old folk tales often contain stories about ghosts, a haunted house or a haunted village or a haunted forest. Because we don't see ghosts, we maybe enjoy those kind of stories, but we don't believe ghosts exist. But there's something very interesting about ghost, because ghost is of course not a person with a sheet in which two holes are cut with a scissor, wandering around and spooking out everybody. The real phenomenon of what we call ghost is energy, is a vibration. Now remember that this chakra is inherently sattvic. The phenomenon of ghost occurs when a person dies suddenly. When you are in the middle of an activity, so either you are killed by violence or by shock or a natural disaster, you are not ready to die, you are disharmonious, which means your energy is restless. And that is the whole thing with ghosts, or the ghost stories, is there is a restless ghost here hanging around. And if you watch ghost stories, the Ghostbusters come. No, but Ghostbusters have a real function. Before the Ghostbusters became popular, it was called an exorcist. The person that fulfills the role of exorcist comes with a suitcase full of tools, probably a silver nail and a hammer. But what a real exorcist is doing is what a yogi would do: bring harmony. The tools are only for ritual purposes, to show that you are actually doing something there. But what the exorcist is really doing is not visible for the person that is looking at the exorcist, bringing peace to the ghost so that he finally can rise up. When a person dies in a reasonably normal process of dying, either by disease or like my grandfather, just because he felt it's done, it's over, you are in peace. And when you die, your energy, your spirit, rises up after a certain amount of time. The spirit of a restless person doesn't rise up. It stays behind. And most people will never notice the presence of a ghost, but some people are born with the gift of feeling that energy, that disturbance that is there. And that is where the stories of a haunted house comes from. Many people laugh at it. And if you are the person that is sensitive and you come out with stories like, I feel there's something wrong in my house and there are ghosts wandering around, that many people will laugh at you, not take you seriously. Well, for you it's very serious if you are receptive to those kind of vibrations. So what the exorcist is really doing, apart from all those fancy tools that he brings to impress you, to distinguish himself as a professional, what he's really doing is internally creating sattva and projecting that, even talking to the spirit. Ajita used to do that. If we would go on some kind of yoga camp, he would always find a graveyard. And he would stand in front of the graves and he would say, oh, here, there is a soldier from the Second World War. Can you feel his energy? He's restless. And he would sit down and talk to the soldier and tell him to go. It's time to go. It's time you find your peace. Strange enough, you can, if you just sit next to him, you can feel what he's doing. I'm making kind of a joke about it, but he took it very serious. Vijnana Prana is also responsible for... Vijnana Prana explains how burglary alarms work. Burglars, people who break the law, they don't want to be noticed, right? So what do? They often work at night, in the dark. They don't want to be seen when they break into a house, when they steal a car, when they do something that could land them in jail. When you then break a window or a door of a house or a car that is protected by burglary alarm, what happens? Noise! Bap, 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 bap. What happens is the burglar immediately panics. He will drop everything what he has in his hands. He will not be able to enter the house or the car, will run away like crazy in very uncontrolled fashion. You recognize this? This is a very powerful tool if you know how it works. I was once in Amsterdam in an underground parking lot. I had parked my car and I was working at a company for which I was driving a car. I would go from one place to another. So I was doing some administration before getting my gear and going to the customer. And I saw a guy walking around there looking inside cars. So I thought, this is interesting. Because I know what he's up to. He's just looking for something valuable. And when he finds something, he will break open the car, either by smashing a window or using a tool to break the lock. So he opened the car and immediately the alarm went off. You know what happened? This is really interesting. It shows the chaos that noise creates. He immediately slammed the door and he ran around the car 3 times. 3 times he ran around the car before he spotted the exit. Totally disorientated. That is like a comedy. But if you understand how this works, you can try to feel what is happening. Total panic and no control whatsoever. This also means when you are in danger, do not keep quiet. Many people who are the victim of a crime, when they get robbed or worse, get raped, they think, oh, I better be quiet before they do worse. Maybe they will kill me if I resist or make noise. No, make as much noise as you can. It has the same effect as a burglary alarm. You may get a punch in your face, you may get a black eye, but if you keep screaming, they will leave. They will run away as fast as they can. Really. Remember this. Oh, you know, the developmental stage is between 29 and 35. But first, I forgot to mention that with the heart chakra. The developmental stage of the heart chakra is between 21 and 28. That is the age of idealism. That is the age of our big love. Now, why is this important that I don't skip this from the heart chakra? Because in Manipura chakra, developmental stage between 15 and 21, that is the time that young boys mostly riot. The age of 22 to 28 is the time that we protest. We are idealists. We want to save the world, but we don't riot. Now, this is what you see if you watch the news. You can clearly see that the people protesting are indeed in this age range. Of course, there are some that are a little bit older, there are some that are a little bit younger, but generally speaking. You also see there is a small number of people that end up destroying things, looting, etc., rioting. But now you understand why. It's all in the chakras. This behavior is all in the chakras. The next stage is 29 to 35. You don't care anymore what happens in society. You are concerned with yourself and your future. This is the time frame in which you establish yourself and start focusing seriously on your career. Interestingly, the people that were protesting against the authorities in the previous age bracket from 22 to 28, they often end up on the seats in the next stage of the people that they protested against. In Holland, in the Netherlands, there are many politicians who now do exactly and are being accused of doing exactly what they protested against, were arrested for when they were still in that range between 22 and 28. You recognize what I'm telling you here? So when you don't understand that, you just, all you can do is condemn those people and telling them they are hypocrites and what have you. If you know how it works, it all makes sense. It's all in the chakras. Good. Exercises that typically stimulate the chakra is, of course, shoulder stand. That has a very intense impact on the throat, and with that, of course, the throat chakra. We call it the throat chakra. And other inverted poses, but mainly shoulder stand and all its variations. There are many. Also, a very basic exercise like a tree pose is in fact rather sophisticated. Because it seems to stimulate the lower chakras because you do it with your legs, but it has an element that stimulates directly the throat chakra. It is the balancing element. The balancing organ is located in your ear. The subtle organ of perception is hearing. Not only that, when you see the logic, you see that the most advanced poses in yoga are balancing poses, but not on your legs, balancing on your arms. Not only, you have of course the handstand, but there are many balancing poses, like the lotus and then pushing yourself up is a balancing pose. And you have so balancing pose with your foot behind your head, and there are many actually. And it is not the pretzel aspect, of course, because it is very advanced, you have gone through several years of development. The pretzel element itself is not difficult anymore at that point. But it is the balancing element that makes it really an advanced pose, and not the pretzel element. Remember this. Balancing inevitably pulls energy up, away from the lower emotions and desires. And so the tree pose, basic as it may appear to be, is in fact a very sophisticated pose when you look at it from an energy perspective. I'm pretty sure that most of you, when you do the tree pose in silence, Vriksasana, you hear nada very naturally. That is because energy is rising up. You may not be aware of the energy, but you surely will be aware of nada. Yeah. Martial arts in the past was a passion. It still is, but not actively. I mentioned on the last page that in Hapkido, we have a special technique that uses sound to startle your opponent. You know the kia? In karate, in taekwondo, in Hapkido, you shout a lot. The real purpose of that shouting is to disorientate your opponent and then attack. Of course, your opponent, if practiced in martial arts, doesn't fall for that, but an unpracticed opponent will react like the car burglar at first when confronted with so much noise. Neda! Did you feel that? Did you feel that? And then you punch. Good. The Hapkido adventure. Yeah, it's not related to this chakra. But you know, 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, a bunch of my Hapkido friends came from Amsterdam. Six of them. And they've all been in Korea 6 years before I finally came here. And I told you I was very envious of them when they came here so early, because I was the most dedicated student of my Hapkido teacher. And they just went. But all of them came back within a year. One after 4 months, another after 6 months. Only one of them actually stayed for a year. They came back and just basically went back to their old life. 30 years later, 35 years later, we have a WhatsApp chat group, they still talk about the same shit. Oh, sorry. they still make the same stupid jokes as we made 35 years ago. They're still obsessed by Hapkido and you know, like men who are drafted into military service and basically lament being drafted into military service, but then 50 years later they're still talking about it while they're drinking soju and makgeolli. So my Hapkido friends are like that. They still think it's important and they have no idea how the world has changed. For me, it's totally not important anymore, but I achieved something that they never could. I got my 5th degree black belt. And that was my starting point of that's why it took me 9 years to prepare to come here. Because I functioned like a yogi and they didn't. I thought, if you go, then what will you achieve? They came back within a year without achieving anything, just spending money and have a nice adventure. And 35 years later, they're still dreaming about it. I lived my dream. And that also means it burns up, that is karma. It burned up and it's not totally not relevant anymore. But I achieved what I set out to do. And not only that, several other things I achieved too. Like starting teaching yoga, making a living with it and having a studio. And the next stage is also underway. The materializing, manifesting my wishes, which is something that I forgot to tell you about when we discussed the heart chakra as well. The heart chakra has a secondary chakra that is called Kalpataru. And Kalpataru is the wishing tree. That is symbolism, of course, but what it indicates is that the power of wishing is in the heart, not in the head. And it also means you can truly manifest your wishes, but you must believe in them. And you must be ready. You must be very patient. You must be ready to spend years, decades, to fulfill your wishes. Ever since, if I look back now, and now everything starts to fall into place and understand, ever since I started practicing yoga, that is basically what I started out doing. I started little by little fulfilling my wishes. And it works. But you must have faith. You must believe. You must be ready to confront a lot of obstacles, challenges. And remember, I must have told you this before, the obstacles and challenges on your way need to be overcome to allow you to go to the next stage, to the next step, to the next wish to fulfill. Because you have to be ready. You can be 18 years old and wish to be the director of a company. So does it work like that? No, you have to prepare. In the real world, you have to prepare. Then you study marketing, you study economics and business administration and what have you. But that still doesn't make you a director of a company. You have to make mistakes, you have to fail, you have to live through a lot of misery to actually get there. Then you know what? Once you get there, it's not interesting anymore. It's time to go to the next stage, to the next fulfillment of a wish. For me, I just want to retire. But how do you do that if you have no pension? I found a way. I'm not going to tell you yet, because then I'm asking the gods to punish me. Maybe someday I will tell you. But it's just amazing. It's how this is the difference between your head and your heart. Because in your heart you have this cocky belief, this unshakable belief that whatever you set your mind to, if you do it from your heart, you can and you will achieve it. The problem is your head. And that is the cause of all of your suffering. Because mentally, you cannot grasp what your heart is capable of. So here, in that stupid brain of you, all the doubt occurs. All the fear of failure or insecurity, just believing you will never be able to get there or to achieve it, or it's all here. But why I became able of manifesting my wishes is yoga. You will too. It's simply a matter of chemistry or physics. Because it's a quality of the heart. Kalpataru chakra is a satellite, a secondary chakra of the heart. You fire up the heart, Kalpataru is automatically becoming part of how you function. Sorry. It's subtle, and it's very difficult to rationalize and believe. But that is the paradox of a yogi. Yoga in itself is a paradoxical science. Simply because of yin and yang, because up and down, plus and minus. You understand that? If you function like a real yogi, you're not a yogi. Because it's a superficial concept. I'll try to explain what I mean by that. I am old school yogi, trained in the ancient tradition of yoga. And I stick to that because I know that is the only way that yoga works, truly works, magic. So I end up in the biggest gym in Korea, 5,000 pyong, the most commercial gym in Korea, and people say, how is this possible? How can you do that as a yogi? Well, that is the paradox of yoga. It's the perfect marriage. It is those 8 years that I worked there that I've been able to lay a very good foundation to grow enormously. Of course, I had to deal with the real world, the world of business. The most commercial gym with the most traditional yogi in Korea. If you are a fake yogi, you will refuse. Impossible. I'm not going along with that. I grabbed it with both hands once I was convinced. And it gave me 8 years to thrive. And in the process, lay the foundation for the next wish to be manifested. When I had that position there, the management was building other. At some point they had like 12 gyms. Many of them in Seoul, but some in Daegu and Daejeon, and I believe even in Busan. There was a period that they worked very hard to build the brand, and they established, but they never gave any other yoga teacher the deal that they had given me. They maybe kind of regretted it, but they couldn't also not get rid of me. Other yoga teachers asked for the same deal that they had given me, and they flat out refused. You know why? They paid me to manage their yoga program. They gave me a generous compensation for that. I hired the teachers, I ran the program 7 days a week. That paid all my bills and more. On top of that, I had income from Saturday and a Sunday course, basic and advanced course. So any other yoga teacher would want that. And for me, that gave me the stability I needed to just be a yogi. Can you see the logic here? So that is the paradox. Balance exists out of two forces. So there, the two forces were modern and tradition. Commercial with non-commercial. The problem is, everything is for profit. They build up the gym and they sell it at a huge profit, leaving me behind. So then little by little the issues started rising up, the conflict started. But I managed to stay there 8 years. All the other personnel from the saunas and the front desk and the administration and all the trainers, they had a turnover of 2-3 times being replaced. I was the only one that's still there. But after 8 years I had to leave, and well, then you just have to accept it's time to move on. I didn't accept it, so I got kind of sick because of that. I'm still human. But now everything is falling into place. Fulfilling wishes is in the heart. You have to really, you remember that the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and we will come across that sutra again, but there are 6 qualities that you need to have to be a yogi. One of them is faith and belief. You have to believe in your path, the path that you have chosen. You have to believe in your dream. And one of the other qualities is courage. It's inherently linked. Because without courage, you'll just get a steady job for the next 30 years until you retire. Because thinking about all that insecurity and uncertainty, that is very scary. Sometimes I ask myself, you know, I'm 56, almost 57 now, and I think, what the hell am I doing at this age, still having no certainty about the future and what have you. But it all makes sense. The universe takes care of everything. But God helps only those who help themselves. You cannot just passively stay on your sofa with all your remote controls around you and just think, God will help me or the universe will do it for me. It doesn't work. You have to roll up your sleeves and do whatever it is that you have to do on a daily basis. Work towards a goal, and when the time is right, the universe will step in and lead you, guide you. It's not easy. But then again, why would I be doing all this if I kind of lament the fact that I'm at this age still fighting to get things done? Why am I doing all this? That is karma. If there were not a bag full of karma that causes the restlessness that leads you to do and to move, then you choose a much more comfortable existence. But what I've done is I canalize all that restlessness into making this world a better way. In my own small way, every drop in the ocean counts. And I do that through my development is my teaching. I share that with you. And because it is from my heart, you recognize it, you connect with it. One way or another, as yogi, functioning more and more from the heart with time passing, you will do the same. not teaching yoga necessarily, it can be, but in whatever it is that you do, as a parent, as a partner, as a worker, in whatever business it is that you are in, working in a shop or an administrative office, or as a doctor or a lawyer or an architect, whatever it is that you do, it will be filled with heart. If you were or are a lawyer, the way that you are a lawyer will be different. If you are a doctor, the way that you are a doctor will change. What changes is heart. It will become infused with compassion. It will obtain a humane element. What first was just a career or a means to make money becomes a way to grow. And you do that by expressing your heart in whatever it is that you do. Even if you're a garbage collector or a dishwasher. I have done those things with heart. Cleaning toilets in a retirement home where people with Alzheimer, Parkinson reside.
Oh, sorry, I just have a quick question. Did you go to university?
That what?
Did you go to university?
No.
No? So you just did high school?
I?
You just did high school?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to...
I did high school in the evening because I messed up as a teenager.
So you dropped out, and then you finished high school later on.
Yeah, in my 20s. That's what Ajita told me. Finish it. Come back to my class, finish your education, and earn enough money to be ready to go, to pack your bags and go. I did.
Just one question. Something I've heard from a lot of yogis is that a lot of people never get to their heart chakra, or maybe never open their heart chakra. But you're saying that the experience of being in love is,
you know,
there are people's consciousness.
Who is saying that many people are never reaching the level of the heart chakra? What kind of people are saying that?
For instance, my Hinduism assistant professor at university.
I know people in authority, because of ego, they always want to distinguish themselves from others, especially in teacher-student relations. So there are yoga teachers who, if you as a student come to your yoga teacher with some kind of issue, I've heard stories of, my yoga teacher told me that Muladhara chakra is important, but you are just a student and the energy in your Muladhara chakra is not so strong yet. Yeah? That is ego. It is totally impure to say things like that, but it is because of ego that teachers want to show, I'm the teacher, I'm special, I know things you don't know, I can do things that you can't. Never ever should, but many teachers do something like that. And what you are saying about your heart chakra, that reminds me of this, because I am telling you that from the moment that you actually start practicing yoga, the heart chakra already starts becoming activated.
I think they may have said opens, so perhaps they're talking about fully opens.
That's just a matter of time. That's a matter of it takes decades.
But how do you know that it's open?
You will send me an email and you say, Ron, what the hell is wrong with me? I'm gasping for breath and I feel so great, but at the same time I feel so horrible. I know what the hell is happening with me.
So
Yes?
why would you feel horrible?
because of the restlessness, the instability that comes with it. It's a huge burst of energy, and energy is inherently unstable. But it's marvelous. When it happens, you will know. It's undeniable. It's when it happens, you will know. That for me also, I heard about it, and I thought, no, I'm functioning from my heart, but it's never been like. But the day that it happens, you know, you're gasping for breath. Don't be afraid of it. I hope I'm not scaring you.
Can I ask a question from before, from our previous lesson today?
Who's talking?
Oh, me.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
I'm clairvoyant, but I couldn't see.
It was part of the lesson. No, the lesson from before when you were saying for unconditional love that you have to be willing to let someone go. Are you saying like let go of the relationship or let go of the person to have the freedom to do what they want to do? Obviously, if it's a parent, it's not like letting the relationship go, but
with a child?
Well, right.
No, a child needs to mature and cannot, until a certain age, and that is into the 20s, a child's brain is not mature enough to oversee the consequences of choices they make. So you have to guide them. You have to let them go at a certain point, but at the same time, be there as a guardian, as a safety net.
Yeah, but in terms of like a partner thing, were you saying relationship or the person themselves?
It's the attachment that you have with that person that you have to let go. If you can't, it's very possible that you can't, or not yet. But your life will be filled with conflict and dilemmas and not what a healthy, stable relation is supposed to be. It's good that you refer to unconditional love, because I once got a question from a student who said, what am I supposed to do when I am capable of being unconditional, but I feel boys are using me as a doormat? So I said, that is not unconditional love. No way. Unconditional love, there are two people involved. And if a person is disrespectful and trampling on your dignity, using you, abusing you, then you don't say, oh, I'm a yogi and I'm capable of unconditional love, so just give it to me. I will forgive you. And no. That means you're with the wrong person. Never, ever. It's about self-respect and dignity. If people affect your self-respect and dignity, that you're in the wrong place. I had a relationship before I came to Korea. I had two brothers who were addicted to, one to drugs and the other to alcohol. And the one who was addicted to drugs, I took him to France on a vacation for 4 weeks, trying to help him to detox, to kick the habit. He was using heroin. But I was in a relationship, and I told my girlfriend I need to go with him alone. No, I cannot. So please understand. So when I came back, she immediately told me, oh, I met this guy and we went to the forest, but we only kissed. So I didn't get angry. And that only made it worse. Because her only objective of going out with this guy to the forest, where they did more than kissing, I know that, was to make me jealous. And to make me cry for her, and please, and no, and I love you so much. I did not. I just thought, well, that's foolish. You probably thought that I go on a vacation with my brother and that I will have plenty of beautiful French girls and on the Riviera or something like that. And so you need to revenge. You need to revenge and make me jealous and play those foolish games that people do. I was busy with something serious. For me, that was. But you know, unconditional love is that in that case you understand. It also means at that moment you realize you're not at the same level. But you know, if I'm in a relationship here in Korea, when I came here, at some point I had a relationship, very serious, for 11 years. And if my phone would ping with a message, she would run to my phone and check. Somebody wishes me Happy Easter with lots of love or something like that. And that immediately means that I'm having an affair. While either I'm at home or I'm in the yoga studio. There's no in between. I don't go out to meet friends or so ridiculous. Or a student writes me an email or text message. I think it was a text message. Ron, I have my period today, so I'm not coming. Which my partner thinks, oh, they're having sex and she can't because she's having her period. Now, those kind of things happen, you know, and you feel so powerless, so frustrated. Now, oh my God, what is happening here? Because I allow you to watch my email and to read my text messages. I don't mind. But if it ends up like that, it's counterproductive. I have nothing to hide. People, it's easy to talk about unconditional love. It is very difficult to understand for many people. It's based on trust, and even if your partner makes a mistake, you try to put yourself on the same wavelength as your partner so that you can understand what led to that mistake. Like having an affair. I was able to do that, and it means that I don't get angry. But not getting angry is then being misconstrued into being, you don't care. My partner has accused me of loving my dogs more than my partner. That is so sad. My dogs need me. They depend on me. I give them food, I give them routine, I walk them. But you're my partner. How can you say you don't love me? You love your dogs. That is frustrating. and obviously that relationship that didn't work out in the end.
So I wanted to say something about unconditional love. So the relationship I share with my husband, I love him, but I don't hold on to him. He's free to do whatever he wants, so he can meet his friends or be with me or whatever, his choice. But the perception that, so he's got a lot of freedom to do what he wants. Like if he says he wants to go out, he can go. He wants to be at home, just have a comfortable silence. And we live in a happy, comfortable silence, coexist peacefully at home. But this relationship that me and my husband share, when it is seen by outsiders, it is often considered that I don't like him enough because I'm not possessive about him.
Exactly.
But I give him the freedom to do what he wants, and thereby I can gain a lot of respect from him.
Yes, exactly.
So in a relationship, probably that's what I think as unconditional. But the perception to other people looks very different. Like, you know,
You
she
don't
doesn't
care.
really care about her husband much, or she wants to run away from him and be by herself. You know, so when I say I'm selfish for this Sunday because I get to have this day for myself to be doing what I want, and people think it is selfish, but I don't think so. He gives me that day off, or he takes my son away from me for one day and he says, just do whatever you want to do. So we have that very wonderful coexisting relationship with a lot of love and respect. And I think
Yes.
we got it with a lot of unconditionality attached to that.
Yes.
So it explains a little bit.
You are blessed. Yes.
I worked for it, so yes.
Of course. We have to work for everything. But you're blessed.
But a lot of people say, hey, like my mom even, she says, you don't seem to be giving too much attention to your husband.
You're not a good mom, you're not a good husband, you're not a...
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize it so much. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a short break.